Firewood Solutions, Ivester Tree, LLC. Today we're building some skid trail. This hill is pretty steep, and it's not so steep that we couldn't back up or log, but we have below it what's called an equipment exclusion zone, or EEZ, and there may have been some sort of an artifact or something found in there, and the Forest Service deemed it a place where they do not want any equipment, any disturbance. So rather than logging through it, I'm building a trail with our D5N that started out its life as a construction dozer, and we've turned it into a smaller logging machine. We don't have a lot of road to build, so it's perfect for what we do. It's got a 6-way blade, good heater, good AC. It's going to be nice for plowing snow come winter time, and it's really been a good machine. So what we're doing here, though, getting back to it, is we have a trail that we have to build. So this will be a trail that I can skirt around the EEZ and still harvest the timber. Now this little D5 we actually found at Ritchie Brothers in Salt Lake. It needed some things done to it. It was able to be purchased at the right price. It got new. I'm trying to think of everything we did to it down at our yard before we brought it up. So we had to fix a couple leaks on it here and there. We had put new rails and pad bolts on it. We rebuilt a lot of the bushings in the C-frame. It had like 12,500 hours on it, which is a fair amount, but with these little machines in the construction industry, typically that is the D5 is like the pay grade dirt. It's pushing and just grading finished dirt. So it's not like, doing what we're doing with it here. We were actually able to find the E-ROPs, or limerizers. Some guys call them screens and sweeps. Basically the cage that protects the cab and the top of the hood. We purchased that through Bedrock Attachments. They were actually pretty good to deal with. They offered a fair price on a great product, shipped it right to our door, and the instructions could have been slightly better, but all in all, it was a pretty, lengthy but an easy install. And that, I wasn't going to put it on, but after, you get building road, and then you start realizing that it's something that it's not hard for a tree to come back on you. And it just offers a little more protection for the windows, for the operator. That way you're not damaging it, or, hitting that exhaust pipe, or having a log come up and hopefully not go through the window or anything like that. It's kind of funny. You don't realize how steep it is until you get back in the dozer up, and then, the blade's just heavy enough that it's trying to pick the idler up off the back end. And, you kind of get that teeter motion, as you see right there. But this little 6-way, it's been a nice machine. We had one broken hose as far as breakdowns on it. One that it looked like a previous operator may have purchased and built it too long, or didn't put it in the right area, and it basically just rubbed the oscillator that allows your tracks to flex up and down the torsion bar. Well, the other thing about this dozer too, if you look at it, it's got the low ground pressure pads, and they have their pros and their cons. Now, as far as a pro, they offer a lot of traction. It's this machine, it really puts all the power to the ground and rarely spins the tracks when you're pushing up against something. Not saying that it won't do it, it just has a harder time doing it because it does have so much traction. Now the downfall, though, there's several in this scenario. you don't get the kind of packing, compaction that you'd want from a dozer. Plus, this is just a small dozer. I think that it weighs right around 30,000 pounds, where, you're looking at 50,000 pounds for a D6 class machine. So it's a lighter dozer. When it gets on top of rocks, though, it is like an ice skate. A couple different times when I was pioneering up to see where my road would be clearing brush. As you can see, we have to clear some brush out of the way. You'd hit a rock garden, and next thing you know, you're sliding sideways, and it makes for an interesting day. You just make sure you wear your seatbelt and say your prayers. But overall, I think when it comes to plowing snow, we'll put some ice cleats on it to make sure that we're getting our traction to the ground, and that way we're not slipping and sliding everywhere. Other than that, I mean, that's about the only thing I'd change on this, is just with a narrower pad, just to give me a little bit more dig, a little more ground force, and not such a rough ride. And we try and keep, our tree clearing to a minimum. Some of it has to go. Obviously, we're logging this area. We're doing what's called a selective cut. So you see that tree in the bottom right that's marked blue. Trees that are marked blue are meant to be harvested. A lot of times they're the sick or over mature trees, or ones that have been hit with a timber beetle and they're not going to continue surviving. If you see that stump right there in front of me, between the cameraman and the dozer, that's an old logging stump. I'm guessing this area was logged back in the 50s or the 60s, and I've found trails where they've probably cut a trail and used a horse, or just the number of times of a horse skidding logs, built the trail. But it's pretty neat to know that we're logging in a place where somebody's already logged it before. So this is a second generation harvest. And I'll tell you, some of the stumps that these old timers were leaving, they were tall, they were axe cut, face cuts, and then sawed in the back. And then they had, some really big trees in there at one point. I think I've found some around the 36 to 40 inch, which is pretty good for this area. There's other areas of the Uinta range that grow substantially larger, but around, the Mill Park area where our timber sale is, they do not get that kind of size up there. It's 10,300 feet. And so the lodgepole and the spruce intermingle. There's no Douglas fir. There's some subalpine. No aspen in this stand. No juniper, no pinon, no cedar, nothing like that. Just all lodgepole, Engelmann spruce, and subalpine fir. Had to take a sip of coffee to wet my whistle there. Yeah, this is kind of what we go through to bring the highest quality firewood known to mankind to your doorstep. Whether you pick it up from our yard, whether we deliver it to you, there's a lot that goes into it. Almost every day there's a death-defying experience that you got to get through. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, nothing comforts like Ivester wood. Thanks everyone for watching.